Eddie just started going downhill, saying to him, I don't know when to call it and take him in. Because he's under 1, it means that he needs medical intervention. We've made it onto the pediatric ward and we've got Eddie hooked up. I've got a snack and we are just making ourselves comfortable for the long ride ahead. Because Eddie's oxygen levels at the moment are sitting at 90. If it drops any lower, they're going to have to do some intervention. So the nurses just brought stuff in, but he's sleeping beautifully. Just before I went to put Eddie down for our nighttime sleep, for lack of better words, we actually ended up changing rooms. So we went from the red-pink room to this blue room. And I'm actually really thankful because I was able to make this little fold-out bed. Eddie seemed to settle quite well and we're going to bunker down for the night. I always like to guess my hospital food, and this lunch definitely took me by surprise with the cabbage. But Eddie seems to be more awake today and his oxygen levels are going back up, which is great. Hello, baby. Hello. It's a big moo cow, guys. Well, this is the 3rd time we are in hospital and we're hoping things are getting better. In Edmund's 4 short months of being on this earth, we have been in hospital. This is our 3rd time. So the first time he had rhinovirus with a UTI, the second time he had a RSV, and then this time they're thinking it's another respiratory infection that is causing bronchiolitis. The thing that is really challenging about hospital stays is you are stuck in such a tiny room, and I have been sleeping on this chair and he is in a cot for the first time. He's not usually in a cot, but we're trying to get him to sleep. It's bright, which is a blessing and also a curse at the same time. It's great for my mental health to be able to see sunlight, even though it's just facing onto a brick wall. But at the same time, it's really hard to get him to sleep. So let's begin the story. Over the weekend, Phineas and Zoe got a cough and runny nose. So Michael went and got them tested. They came back negative for their PCR. However, they came back with this virus that for their age groups would just be a cough that lingered around because it's a respiratory infection. But for Eddie, because he's under 1, it means that he needs medical intervention. Now, Monday night was very hard and Eddie had a fever, wasn't feeding good, and just, you could tell he was struggling to breathe. On Tuesday, I was monitoring it and it got to a point where Eddie was audibly grunting with every single breath. He was feeding half of his feeds and was just miserable. And I could tell by his rib cage that he was really working hard to breathe. So we came straight to hospital. We waited probably 2 hours in the emergency department before going over to the pediatric waiting area. Then we were seen by a doctor who confirmed the fact that Eddie was struggling and that his oxygen levels weren't great. They were sitting around a 92, and that anything below 90 would need intervention. So once we were all clear and there was a bed here in the pediatric ward, we came to the peds ward and we have hooked him up for monitoring. Over the course of the evening, Ed's oxygen levels were getting quite low. I think he was getting quite tired. He hadn't really slept well during the day, and they brought in all the stuff ready for him to need extra oxygen if he required it. Thankfully, his levels stayed above 90 even when he was sleeping, like it was just on 90. And we were successfully getting it throughout the day. Now, the super frustrating thing was Ed's feeds had gone up, his input and output were back to normal, and they decided that he was still working a little bit too hard, so we've had to stay in, they said, until lunch. But it is now 3 o'clock and there is a handover for shifts, and we're waiting to see if we can go home. I don't want to be taking home a baby that's not ready to go home, but for my mental health, if all we're doing is observing him and he's not having any intervention through oxygen, then I'd rather do that at home, because he is overtired now, which isn't helping him to heal, and it's just, being in a hospital room really does suck. I'm thankful that I trust my mum gut, because I was literally on the phone to Michael when Eddie just started going downhill, saying to him, I don't know when to call it and take him in. And then his body definitely gave me the signs that he was no longer coping by himself. And I'm so thankful that we're able to come and lean on the expertise of those who have the knowledge in this field. There's a couple of things that make hospital stays hard. The first is obviously he doesn't sleep as good, so I don't get clear breaks from him. And because Ed's nostrils are blocked, I'm having to give him more snack feeds, which is a lot of contact. So rather than getting physical breaks, I'm either holding him or nursing him, which is really challenging. I also just miss the kids. I really do. I miss putting my life on hold. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm super thankful that we have healthcare and that we're able to access it for free and that it's getting looked after. But when it comes to these respiratory viruses, especially for kids under 1, it's just a waiting game. And it's really hard to figure out whether you need to just do observations at home or if you do need to come in. And I know we came in at the right time, but it's the waiting around to see if we're spending another night. That's the really challenging thing, because I don't know if I can handle another night. Michael and I really are a team. We work really well together. Hey, we just had another nurse and we're giving you a burp. Hi. All the nurses have been commenting on how chunky Eddie is, these big puppy eyes. He's back to smiling today, which is nice. We've just seen the pediatric doctor and we're going home. I'm so happy. She has given us discharge papers of things to look out for. She said that he's definitely looking better than yesterday, because she was the one who admitted us into the ped ward. So I trust her judgment that she can see that he is definitely on the mend.